Hello. Yeah, a couple week reprieve there. Maintenance day was necessary 2 weeks back, whereas we wanted to take some more leisurely time and just enjoy ourselves, especially as Christian was presented a unique opportunity for some personal entertainment and some social time, which of course I understood. It was a nice day off for me as well. Here he is now. Let's see how smoothly that I can add him onto this time. Let's see. No, not bad. That we've definitely had much more troublesome live stream polls when trying to add people in the past. But yeah, I guess the defining aspect of this weekend was the NCAA environment, especially with the volatility, competitive parity, and surprises in terms of results that occurred within that sphere, both in D1 men's and women's, really. Uh, I think we'll pivot off the usual introductory segment format because I think Christian probably has some unique insight that's worth providing about the women's game and how enriching some of the collegiate storylines have been, as has been documented in some of our social media activity recently.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This has been, a great weekend for women's hockey. I'm actually going to start out with a bit of a criticism that's tied to a statement about really the growth of the game. We had the icebreaker tournament this weekend that, all four major conferences had a hand in, which is kind of the first time that NUHA has been considered a major conference in the women's collegiate game. Glad to have them there. It really was a great tournament. I think the third period in the first round between St. Anselm and Union was really a great showcase of women's hockey being an exciting sport. When you cast back to that Shorzy episode back in season 3, talking about how do you make women's hockey as exciting as the men, and when you see a game that is at 1.60 almost become a shocking loss, seemingly out of nowhere, just a really great, entertainment value for the product, where a mid-tier ECAC team and a mid-tier NUHA team could give us such a compelling matchup. And then, the downside to that tournament is you include Vermont, who I think is a phenomenal fit with the, with your St. Anselm and your Union College. But I do genuinely question the masterminds who decided to take the best team in the country and drop them into a tournament with the other three teams that were in that tournament, where the University of Wisconsin was in absolutely zero danger of losing to anybody, and really gave us some hard-to-watch content of them really just bludgeoning Vermont and Union in their two games. Really kind of poured a little bit of cold water on that, where we could have seen really, St. Cloud State, I think, would have been a better fit in that tournament. I'd have to look at the whole WCHA, or maybe a Minnesota State. And I know it's not going to draw the same viewership as, a Wisconsin, but, really something to look to for next year of, trying to maybe get a team that's a little more close in the rankings to the other three schools. Moving forward into some other notable events. Had a really great time watching, Cornell and a lot of the Ivies get into motion. Cornell dropping a hammer on BC, which I alluded to in our group chat. BC Eagles, they have a good roster, and unfortunately, they just haven't really shown up and performed well against top performers, and has really made it difficult for the Hockey East Association to have, a strong weight in terms of the narrative, and to really piggyback off of their sister school in this instance, Boston University being a top 15 program, also stepping on a rake against Brown at home against an Ivy, really disappointing for Hockey East to see the two big, Boston schools not named Northeastern, which is weird to think of compared to their men's counterparts. Really just not execute well this weekend and continue to carry the flag. And speaking of Northeastern, they split their weekend, or yeah, they split their weekend if I recall correctly with Quinnipiac. No, they did not. They were defeated both games by Quinnipiac, much like Maine's men. Oh,
It's a technicality, but we'll get into that in a second.
yeah. I was explaining that technicality to my wife as we proceeded into a shootout in college hockey as that was coming to fruition. But, the Boston school's having a tough time in women's. However, as opposed to BU that stepped on a rake against Brown, UConn took care of business against Princeton. Tia Chan really is putting together a Patty Kazmaier level season so far, so great on them. Providence split their weekend series with Clarkson, which is huge. When you're unranked, Maine splitting their series with Colgate's huge. Kia Lattinen's been knocking on a huge upset. And, if anybody in Hockey East is going to challenge Tia Chan for the goaltender of the year in that conference, it's going to be Kia Lattinen. So it's great for Maine to see them pick up that first win against a ranked opponent. They had the shutout against St. A's last weekend. And that's really a look at your Hockey East, noteworthy events. One thing to keep an eye out, as we prepare or as we proceed through the season, Ohio State and Minnesota split in Minnesota, and they're head-to-head by 4-1 on Saturday for Ohio State, and 6-3 today for Minnesota, which really makes it interesting for the first time that the University of Wisconsin plays really either of them to really determine how tight or how big the gap is this season in the field. As we've clearly already seen that even Minnesota Duluth has basically just timber going into a buzzsaw. So we're really not going to have an idea of where Ohio State or Minnesota measures up until Halloween, when Minnesota and Wisconsin will face each other at 6 p.m. for a real trick-or-treat special out in the Midwest. It's really the first time we're going to get an idea of how the top part of college hockey measures up. A lot of the interconference showdowns have concluded for the year. We got a lot of them early in the year. We've had a lot of fireworks. And really interesting to see now how the chips are going to fall in Hockey East. Really like what I've seen from UConn. I think Northeastern wishes they had done better in, their interconference play. But unless something drastically changes, I think that those two teams are going to be very aggressively vying to win their conference again. I do think UConn has a slight edge on Northeastern at this point in time. BU, I think, is a distant third in the field. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Holy Cross usurps UNH down the stretch here with what we've seen from them. But that could all change. Who knows? Not me.
Man, who the hell is this anthem singer in the Blackhawks Ducks game? He's going hard.
That's a good question. I also want to, on the topic of this game that we're both definitely going to have on the background here, props to the Chicago Blackhawks organization for finally doing something right off the ice and hiring an Indigenous former women's hockey player into their scouting staff. Good on them to finally get something right that has nothing to do with the on-ice performance. A very, very uncommon W for the Chicago Blackhawks organization. But, props to them for finally getting something right. I will see if I can find more details on that headline to give proper acknowledgement to the person added into the Blackhawks staff, but I will, for once in their Bridget Laquette will be scouting for the Chicago Blackhawks moving forward. So real great to see the Blackhawks getting something right for once in their franchise in recent history, as we all know that they have really been swabbing the bottom of the barrel with a lot of their organizational decision making recently.
This girl at the Utah game is not bad either, as far as anthem singers go. Not quite as dramatic, but definitely, about as skillful.
You know, I wonder if she's tried the Dirty Baja Blast before the game. For those of you who don't know what that's about, I'm sorry that I've now introduced you to the concept of a Dirty Baja Blast. Um, don't ruin a perfectly good soda with coffee creamer. That's all I gotta say. You can
Wow.
ruin any other soda, just don't ruin I think I saw this on Reddit earlier in a hockey thread about this of like, if you're gonna ruin a Baja Blast and make it a dirty soda with a creamer, at least use like a coconut creamer. Give it, a little bit of that, Hawaiian pina colada, Pacific Islander razzle dazzle instead of just pouring vanilla on it like a traditional American.
You know, for something, I think it's only appropriate that this little digression, which was just like me having a bit of a squirrel brain moment, disintegrated in the manner that it did. Like 10 out of 10. Um, but yeah, NCAA D1 men's. So the Friday Saturday slate was it probably, I can't even say it was everything we expected it to be. I think it was everything we expected it to be and more, really. Uh, so of course, you know, as is the standard in the D1 collegiate sphere right now, the non-conference games dominated the schedule, with the only intra-conference game being played in Hockey East in the Northeastern UMass Amherst matchup. Which, speaking of, on that game, in that first matchup, we'll cover that to start off. Northeastern defeated UMass Amherst, who, of course, nationally ranked at 11 currently by a score of 4-2 on the road in Western Mass. Let's see, just gonna pluck out any noteworthy storylines. Yeah, let me kind of overlooking stats here. Well, let's see. They blocked 10 shots in that game. That's pretty good. Good group defensive effort. Uh, Respectable performance by Lautenzacker and net with 25 total saves, including 13 in the second period, to withstand a pretty decent barrage. Michael Hrabal held his own in the other net, stopping 26 of 29. Just didn't get sufficient offensive support. Although I got to give credit to Jack Musa for that power play goal. That was a bit of you know, um, the satisfying moment, I'd say, for a guy who I've been monitoring a bit this year. Oh, shout out to Charlie Serrato of Penn State for being the current nationwide leader in points. A guy who I think is like, sneakily going to be like one of those very translatable players at the next level, who I think is adding value to this team that's undergoing like a lot of transformation. Like even as a sophomore, he is a guy with a considerable amount of experience who's very much an emotional focal point for the team on top of his obvious talents and physical attributes for which I've praised him pretty extensively on this podcast. But speaking of, I gotta kind of put his team on blast though for needing overtime to defeat Long Island University that same night. Like we mutually acknowledge that it never should have came to that. But of course, Eden Fink put it away in the extra frame, just under 3 minutes in, on an assist from both of their top recruits in the form of Jackson Smith and Gavin McKenna to ensure that there was no further embarrassment. It's definitely one of those things where you should be. It's definitely something that you should be expecting them to take a bit of a hit if there's any justice in that realm in the polls. Like I get it. It was a dub, but like it was such an empty victory that I don't think you can, in good conscience, keep them in that sixth spot, or at least they should be hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, I mean, they only really in the rankings maybe get a slight bailout because of the team that was one spot above them in the rankings and their fate the same night, which I'll let you cover. But even that, that particular team at least was on the road when they fumbled a little bit. Where like to do that at home, I I just Maine, despite losing, should theoretically, in my eyes, Maine to me is a better team right now than Penn State, despite the fact that they did not pick up a win against a team ranked significantly higher than Long Island. But I digress.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, we'll just dive right into that. One of the I would argue that this was possibly the biggest headline of the weekend, which, like, even though it was particularly loaded, uh, Lindenwood, of course, defeated Denver University, who, of course, ranked fifth, as noted, on the road for Denver, that is. At home for Lindenwood at Centennial Community Ice Center in front of an audience of 1,888 by a score of 4-3. The winning goal was scored by Adam Reisler as his ENG was followed by a response from Denver, but of course they were not able to muster up a game-tying goal in the remaining seconds. Goals additionally were scored by Olivier Hood, Ty Hipkin, and Jacob Fletcher for Lindenwood, and what is really one of the most noteworthy victories in the entire collegiate realm this decade, I would argue. We're talking about a team that's them defeating a team that's 2 seasons removed from winning the national championship, and just is still very much one of the traditional powerhouses and blue bloods in this sport. So definitely like something that was noteworthy and will probably stand the test of time over the course of this season as one of the biggest narratives for sure. Other defeats of ranked opponents by unranked teams. Of course, less impactful, but it was, definitely worthy of commendation that Augustana was able to defeat Arizona State by a score of 4-2 at home that same night. A result I was pretty happy to see. The game-winning goal in that matchup was attributed to Ben Trombley as he scored the go-ahead goal in that game as Arizona State fell victim to the 2-0 curse in that matchup, as has become very commonplace in this environment, same as it is across hockey in North America, it seems. So a lot of credit goes to Augustana there for that one. Let's see. Yeah, so Quinnipiac and Maine, as alluded to before, played to a 4-4 tie with Quinnipiac emerging forward, unofficial victors by way of winning the shootout 1-0 in that matchup. Let's see. Yes, that was also a come from behind effort as they trailed by 4-1 before scoring three unanswered goals over the course of the second and third periods, with Marcus Vidicek, Elliot Groenwald, and Jeremy Wilmer all getting on the board to force overtime. Um, let's see. Uh,
That Grondwald goal too was that was a special play from him. Watching that in real time with the decision and the absolute gamble he made to come down the wall, like very rarely do you get Alvin Boya to in a position where he's completely helpless on something from such a bizarre angle shot. Like I don't know if enough people gave that goal the flowers it deserved when it happened.
yeah, speaking of, Boyo was the more tested of the netminders in that matchup, having to make 35 saves in that matchup, whereas Matej Mironov stopped only 18 pucks. Um, but at least in official stat tracking, it could be off. But certainly, very much a marquee matchup between two top 10 ranked opponents that was worthy of commendation. Uh, let's see. We did get, the sort of result that you would hope for in one of the matchups, wherein number four ranked Michigan defeated Robert Morris by a score of 10-2. So, at least someone was getting the job done in terms of, these mismatch games. Um, let's see. Another noteworthy matchup came in the form of Western Michigan, defending national champs, of course, against UMass Lowell. It was, this matchup, in this specific iteration, was pretty respectable as Austin Elliott stopped 29 of 30, 31 of 33. And Diego Budazzoni, who, of course, probably other than Elliott, was the biggest name from this Norbezen recruiting class, scored a goal to draw UMass Lowell within one on the power play, approximately halfway through the third period. Unfortunately, they did not complete the comeback, and the final score stood at 2-1. And of course, that sets the stage for what occurred the following night, which of course was alumni homecoming for UMass Lowell, and it certainly was not the show they wanted to put on for the audience of 5,294 as they were defeated 6-0. William Whitelaw and Ty Hendricks notably both scored 2 goals apiece. As the defending national champs skated to a comfortable victory in the rematch. Despite the fact that UMass Lowell has a marginally older roster, it is kind of a reminder, that there is some teeth cutting that needs to be done with, a roster that has 13 freshmen and 15 newcomers total amongst its ranks. I definitely believe in the potential of a lot of these recruits, but it's going to take time, especially, when you're up against that level of competition. Meanwhile, of course, though, Quinnipiac defeated Maine by a score of 4-0 in that rematch. Let's see. Yeah, Mathis Rousseau, kind of a game to forget for him. Whereas Mironov stopped 19 pucks as he had a relatively quiet night again in the shutout. Let's see. Aaron Schwartz had notably had 3 assists in this matchup, 1 primary and 2 secondaries. Jeremy Wilmer had a goal and an assist. And yeah, I think that covers the major performances in that particular game. Uh, Definitely a reminder, I think that we've been getting from Quinnipiac this season that they are still a team that's worthy of being respected by their opponent. Um, so of course, the marquee matchup that really showed the new environment, showcased the new environment on a big stage over the course of this weekend was Michigan State versus BU. Mich State took the first matchup by a score of 4-2 at the Agganis Arena on Friday night. Then had an answer again, for the challenge in front of them presented by the #1 nationally ranked team. So of course, Mich State, very good recruiting class of their own this year, #3 ranked. You know, Definitely a very, very strong opponent. Uh, Very exciting game as the game ultimately was resolved in overtime with Michigan State again emerging forward the victors by a score of 4-3. Um, you know, Riker Lee and Porter Martone scored the first 2 goals of this game. With Martone getting on the board just before the final minute of the second period after Lee scored at 8:46 of the first. Gavin McCarthy cut the lead to 2-1 pretty early into the third period before Tommy Manisto on a primary assist from Porter Martone, who of course, playmaking power forward winger, definitely what they have him for. Uh, with that response pretty quickly thereafter. Uh, there was a really good solo effort though by Kamil Bednarek on a shorthanded goal to bring the score to 3-2 before Conrad von Dirk had the game tying goal with Sasha Boumedian and Ben Merle having the assists. But of course, the game ended in a phenomenal sequence, a lot of back and forth. Included a Mikhail Yegorov save on a 2-on-1 before Cole Iserman nearly had the response. But of course, Shane Van Sage was able to get a goal line clearance that stood up upon review. And of course, Captain Matt Bagsall, with the primary assist attributed to Riker Lee, was able to put it away with 1:10 remaining in the extra frame. Really good goaltender matchup overall as Trey Augustine and Yegorov were credited with 30-plus saves apiece, 31 for Augustine, 30 even for Yegorov. But ultimately, this very exciting matchup that was so highly touted, a real assertion of the impressive roster depth. Not that BU doesn't have that as well, but Mich State just really, really went to town with their, recruitment of a lot of guys who are just NCAA ready, and have some guys, some returnees that are developing quite well, and asserted their status as very much a national title contender this year by defeating the odds-on betting favorite going into the year in both matchups in their home arena on Com Ave. So, definitely like a resonant result, you could say. Um, I guess oh yeah. Also, Penn State defeated LIU 3-0 in that matchup. Uh, let's see. Merrimack defeated UNH by a score of 5-1 at home in North Andover. Hockey East Seoul interconference matchup, while Holy Cross defeated Mercyhurst 4-0 in the AHA's only interconference matchup of the week. Um, let's see. Ferris State defeated the USNTDP 5-0 in that exhibition matchup. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Just
They're
to
cooking.
kind of this is going to be another difficult class season for them, I'd say, in the national team development program. Mikey Burchild definitely is going to be carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders this year, I think. Much like Jack Murtagh did last year, I would say. It was also, I guess I'll shout out the St. Thomas versus Air Force matchup, just for the reversal of fortune that sort of happened there, as St. Thomas emerged forward victors 11-2 on Friday, whereas Air Force won the rematch by a score of 6-2 last night.
Fucking bizarre.
Yeah, I got no words for that one, really. But I think that really covers the best games. I will take a quick look at Colorado College versus Northern Michigan before we move on to CHL, though. Yeah, Colorado College merged forward 5-2 victors in that matchup. Let's see. Oh, yeah, my boy Brandon Lazowski did record an assist on the final goal of the game in that matchup, which was a power play marker by Owen Beckner, with Seth Constance receiving credit for the primary assist. So that's pretty cool. It wasn't a boring night for Caden Maberko in net for CC, as he did make 28 saves. But a pretty good group win. Constance also scored the first goal of the game to mark a multi-point night for him. Oh yeah, Thomas Mercic got the primary assist on that one. It's another guy I checked a little bit. But yeah, I guess that covers the main thrust of NCAA matchups, really. But just taking a quick look at the CHL scoreboard here from those same nights. Where's the comprehensive schedule? Come on. Bastards. Did they take it from me? They ruined the one good thing that was great about this fucking website. Like it does look sleeker overall. I gotta give them credit for that, but I don't know. I don't like that. I don't want to have to look at the WHL fucking QMJHL and OHL schedules all separately. Uh, let's take a look though. I guess that's what I tried going directly to that URL for it where it used to be, and I just it said there has been a critical error on this webpage. I'm like, well, fuck. Let's see. I'll take a look at today's games too, just because why not? Yes, I did catch wind of the classic rivalry between Kitchener and London having some exciting matchups this weekend. Today, oh yeah, you know what? They really, really made the schedule interface better, so I'll give them some credit. But Kitchener defeated London by a score of 3-2 today in the probably the greatest rivalry in the OHL. I would argue.
Caden Schneider scored the opening goal with Cameron Reed, of course, prospect I've been big on for a while now, receiving credit for the primary assist. But, of course, Henry Brustevich on assist from Jared Woolley and Logan Howry. We know how much of a fan I am of him. Had the response in the middle of the second period, while Caden Hawkins grew the lead to 2-1 before Weston Cameron tied the game back up for Kitchener, and Jakob Kromiak on an assist from Luca Romano and Jack Pridham. Man, remember when Pridham was going to go to BU, but they decommitted? That was a backbreaker. Scoring the game winner just 44 seconds into the extra frame. This came on the back of, let's see. Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I had forgotten that London had played Erie yesterday in overtime, even though I did watch a little bit of some highlights from that. But that was another OT loss for London, which is pretty fucking remarkable, honestly. Gabriel Frasca was really the hero of that game as he scored both the game-tying goal 15 minutes and 41 seconds into the third period for Erie, as well as the game-winning goal 1 minute and 36 seconds into the extra stanza. He, of course, correspondingly with his assist and +1, was the first star of that game, while goaltender Charlie Burns, who recorded 28 saves, was the second star, and McLean Agrette was the third star of the game with 1 goal, 1 assist, and the +1. Let's see. Kitchener was defeated by Owen Sound 5-2 yesterday. What do we got? Let's see. Jake Crawford was the first star for his 2 goals, while Harry Nancy was the second star for his goal and 2 assists, while Mason Ray was the third star with his assist and +1. Jack Pridham did get on the board in that matchup. But, relatively underwhelming performance from Kitchener in this game, as Owen Sound really seems to have an impressive squad that's really getting it done by committee this year, from what I've seen. And, of course, Carter George is still holding it down in between the pipes and has, a plethora of experience on his in his back pocket at this point. And I think is really at the stage now where he doesn't have a lot more to really prove at that level. And I think is going to, translate very well at, the professional stage of his career as it comes up. Definitely, valuable piece of the LA Kings organizational future. And Friday, let's see, it's the best game of that slate. Yeah, I think I'll home in on the Niagara versus Saginaw matchup. The Ice Dogs defeated the Spirit by a score of 5-4 in a shootout. Let's see. Yeah, that was a game wherein it was Saginaw that scored the GTG, as Carson Harmer on assist from Ryan Hanrahan and Liam Storch got it done to tie it up at 4 apiece, 2 minutes and 11 seconds into the third period. This was, this ultimately didn't go their way, but at the very least, while playing at the Dow Event Center at home, they did not send their loyal crowd home with a regulation loss. But really a game that, they potentially could have won, or at least, I think I think maybe there was an opportunity for this game not to go the way that it had, considering they outshot Niagara 37 to 21, and had a 42 to 32 advantage on faceoffs. It's noteworthy that they had 9 power play opportunities and they scored on 2 of them. So, they left a fair amount on the table here from what it feels like. But what are you going to do? It's definitely interesting seeing these teams' fortunes transform over time, with a lot of guys graduating to the pros either by aging out or being ready or being taken apart by the NCAA environment having opened its doors to them. All right. So for the WHL, what do we got? Yeah, that Regina Pats Prince Albert Raiders game that's a pretty good one to bring up. Happened on Friday night with Prince Albert emerging forward victors by a score of 6-5. Really a game that had no business being as entertaining as it was and as competitive as it was, considering Prince Albert outshot Regina 17-6 and outscored them 3-0 in the first period. Then buried them a bit more as the game entered the third period, with Prince Albert leading by 5-1. With Keats Fawcett scoring the sole goal for Regina, while Aiden Oring had 2 goals to his name at that point. One in the first. Oh no, both in the first as he bookended it. After scoring 26 seconds into the game, he scored again at 11:30 of the first. Then Evan Smith also had a multi-goal effort as he scored the 5th goal of the game for Prince Albert, and then increased their lead from 5-2 to 6-2 after Jace Eglund had a shorthanded goal 18 seconds into the third. Ephraim McNutt, Mathis Paul, and Keith Fawcett again had goals to their names over the course of the third period. But ultimately, the comeback, despite a valiant effort, ultimately fell short, and the Pats fell in regulation on the road to the Raiders. But that was probably the best game of the weekend in the dub, for sure. Still a bit of, a subdued early dev from Maddox Schultz. But, you can see, he does have a pretty impressive amount of preparedness for the junior environment, or major junior, I should say, to be specific. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, yeah. Last night, the Victoria Royals defeated the Vancouver Giants by a score of 9-4. Let's see. Rowan Woodward had 4 goals and 1 assist in that game. Of course, he was the first star because it was statistically unlikely that somebody's gonna have a better performance than that. Hayden Moore had received the second star for his 3 assists, while of course the captain Reggie Newman had 3 assists and earned 3rd star honors in the matchup. Let's see. It was noteworthy that blue chip prospect, at least as far as that the organization's pipeline is concerned, Ludovic Perrault scored his first goal of the season in that matchup. So that was pretty satisfying. Let's see. Cameron Schmidt do anything? Well, he had 2 assists. That's pretty good. So did Ryan Lynn, for that matter, as he tries to assert himself as, the other Western Canadian blue chip defensive prospect for this draft class. But not a great team performance by Vancouver on the whole in that matchup. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, no, this thing totally. Yeah, no, this is the wrong set of dates. What the frick? Yeah, that's old. Hold on. Yeah, what? Okay, this interface actually kind of sucks. Yeah, I don't know. Hold on just a moment. I'm going to figure out what the hell went wrong here. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, no, that. Yeah, something seemed off about that. Yeah, that was an older game in the docket. The calendar just was not selecting the right slate of dates for some reason. So yeah, that. Hold on, just a moment. Man, what the fuck? Yeah, so I might have to. Yeah, that one's right. Uh, yeah, that I knew something seemed off about that. Yeah, that Vancouver Victoria game was not the one I was looking for. Yeah, that was a bit of an older matchup. That I do remember that now. Actually, they did have a marquee matchup last night of sorts. I guess not really the same esteem as it once would have had. Uh, we were discussing this recently, but yeah, now we're talking. They faced the Medicine Hat Tigers last night. I was watching a little bit of that. Yeah, the Victoria Royals emerged forward 5-4 victors in that game. Let's see. Ludovic Peralt scored his third goal of the season and also tallied an assist for the second star of the matchup, while Odin Vakunen was the first star of the game with 1 goal and 1 assist, and Ethan Eskett recorded 35 saves for the third star of the matchup. Noteworthy performances on the Medicine Hat side include, let's see, Liam Ruck recording 2 assists, Dayton Resney scoring a goal. Let's see, Marcus Ruck recording a goal and an assist. Bryce Pickford, also a guy who I've developed a fair amount of familiarity with, recording the secondary assist on the Dayton Resney goal. Really, a good, strong back and forth matchup. But of course, Medicine Hat was just stonewalled effectively by Eskett in that matchup, having recorded, those 39 shots, out shooting Victoria 39-28, and winning the face-off battle by 48-26, but not having anything to show for it. Ultimately, as they fell in regulation for that matchup on the road in the Save on Foods Memorial Center. And let's see, is there anything else from the dub worth talking about before I move on to the queue and wrap things up? I'll provide a very brief update on the USHL, and then we could finally close this block. Let's see. Not really. Yeah, I mean, the Calgary Hitmen defeated the Spokane Chiefs 5-0 earlier today at home, but nothing too special. Definitely kind of ironic seeing that from Spokane after they went all in last year, and now are kind of like just aimlessly wandering as an organization. But they do have a young team. Some of those guys, like of course Mathis Preston especially, are worth believing in still. So yeah. I did want to see if something happened with Vancouver this weekend though, because that was very much my bad on poorly tracking the dates and configuration here. Well, they lost in a shootout 4-3 to Penticton last night. Cameron Schmidt did have a good performance individually though, as he recorded 2 goals and 1 assist. I'd like to see him turn a bit of a corner this year and add a little bit more to what his overall offensive repertoire is. Like, he's a great skater, very fast, good shot. I'd like to see him lean into his potential as a playmaking winger, though, because the guy does have good slot pass completion when he leads into that part of his game. So and he's got a pretty good offensive pace from what I was looking at, last night. When I was looking at his EP, which of course was him being at 15 points in 10 games to start the year. So we'll see what happens. That's on 5 goals and 10 assists as well after he was a G over A player last year. So that's interesting. Reducing his shots taken rate maybe a little bit as well. Not a ton, but yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Now for the Q, finally, 100% I was like just sent to the wrong part of that page for some reason. Thing totally fucked up. Let's see. The Royen Aranda Huskies defeated the Gatineau Olympiques by a score of 3-2 in regulation today, while the Drummondville Voltigeurs defeated the Cape Breton Eagles by a score of 4-1, and the Blainville Boisbriand d'Armada defeated the Cheyenne Cataract by a score of 8-5 in today's 3 games. Last night we had the Newfoundland Regiment defeat the Halifax Mooseheads by a score of 4-2, as their inaugural season continues to have some, moments of excitement. In an interesting turn of events, despite being the losing goaltender, Halifax Mooseheads netminder Owen Bresson was selected as the first star of that game as he stopped 30 shots. While Liam Arsenault of the regiment was selected the second star for his goal, and Maddox Marmalouk of the regiment was the third star of the game for his 2 assists and +2. Wait, what? Hold on. What the fuck? That's got. Oh my god! That's hilarious. So I was looking at the English translation page. So the translation algorithm totally took a player's name at face value and translated Malik l'Italien to Malik the Italian. Like, I'm literally looking at this right now on this page. That is an actual thing that is on a sanctioned QMJHL webpage. That is fucking hysterical. I thought that might be a hack or something. Like, someone just decided to play a prank on the QMJHL web domain for whatever reason. But no, the translation bot just totally fucked up and translated the surname.
I mean, at least they translated it correctly.
Yeah.
Could be even worse.
Yeah. In the face value sense, it is accurate, I guess, but like not very. This is why AI will never win. That's all I can really say. And it makes me feel a lot better about my gaffe that I just did, that this was allowed to happen by the CHL. Wow, that is amazing. It was worth it to go down this rabbit hole. That's all I can really say. I gotta meme that somehow, but I'm kind of like trying to figure out what direction that I'm gonna take that in. It's probably gonna be very, very like you know, simplistic, but that's how it gets done around here. Let's see. On that same night, the Chicoutimi Saguenay defeated the Quebec Rempat by a score of 6-2, with Nathan Lecomte receiving the first star of the game for his 3 assists. Amir Ricard received the second star for his 2 goals in that matchup, while Caluane of Quebec received the 3rd star for his 2 goals in that matchup. Emile Guite notably scored his 7th goal of the season on assist from Maxime Mass and the aforementioned Lecomte. To start off the game in that matchup, he exhibited, a little bit of that prowess he was known for offensively in his D-1 in 23-24 before just taking an absolute nosedive, and of course, still getting selected in round 5 by the Anaheim Ducks despite that. Really just, he was one of those guys who was touted as part of the reason why the 25 draft class was going to be deep before just seemingly forgetting how to play hockey in his DY and having a worse PPG as a draft year eligible player than he did in his D-1. But now he's sort of starting to be a guy who's, competent offensively. He's scoring almost a goal per game. Like, the assists aren't really there, but, I like the direction he's going in, at least. There is still the potential that we see this guy at least be a 200 gamer, I would say. Like, I have some faith in Emile Guite after, treating him as a bit of a punching bag in his DY, admittedly. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I'd say that covers up, the most – I think it would be a disservice for me to cover even one additional game after that Maxime the Italian. I think we got to go out on a high when talking about that topic. So, yeah, we'll just take a quick look at the USHL, and then we'll call it on the dev stuff before we briefly take on some NHL before we go into the big finish. Yeah, the Dubuque Fighting Saints have pretty consistently been the story of the year. No 2000s emo band references intended. For the USHL so far, after they were pretty, entertaining in, 24-25. So this year they were, I believe, the last undefeated team standing. Of course, now their record stands at 8-1. But, they have been pretty solid, had the best record in the league, as Muskegon has the same number of wins but has an inferior points percentage due to their 8-2 record. There is the USNTDP at the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings yet again with their 2-7 record, or 2-7-2 to be precise. At least they're not, bottom of the league, as that is Omaha, as that organization continues to be in a state of upheaval due to the ownership situation. While the Fargo Force are at 6-1 with one shootout loss as well, stand at the top of the pile in the Western Conference with 13 points to their name. Sioux Falls is right behind them. with 13 points of their own, but a record of 6 wins, 2 regulation losses, and 1 OT loss for a points percentage of 7.22 to Fargo's 8.13. For the contrast of regulation and overtime wins for both of the top twos in the respective conferences. Let's see. For both first place teams, all of their victories are attributed as ROWs, whereas the second place teams have a 1 shootout win each. Let's see, goal differential. The best in the league right now. Let's see. Do I want to? No, I could figure this out pretty quickly. Well, let's see. I mean, Dubuque's looking pretty good with that plus 31, I gotta say. Whereas Muskegon sits at a only a plus 12. Interestingly, Fargo is only at a plus 5 right now, whereas Sioux Falls has a plus 11. But yeah, I know that there's some volatility for what can happen in the Clark Cup postseason, but it does seem like Dubuque is just like a cut above the rest with their, absurd record, having only, just lost a game in their most recent matchup, and just having these absurd statistical performances to their name. It's noteworthy. I mean, they don't have the same sort of discipline that Fargo has, as they only have 59 PIMs to their name, which is by far the lowest in the league. But, Dubuque isn't doing too bad, considering, how some other competitive teams look. They have 102 PIMs to their name right now, whereas Youngstown, who is third place in the East, has 216. And Sioux Falls, who are, as mentioned, second in Western Conference, has 202. So I mean, their group discipline is looking pretty solid. Yeah, sure. What the hell? Look at special team stats really quickly. Let me. Yes. Okay. Best power play in the league at 35.5% efficacy. I mean, let's see. Their PK, best in the conference at 86.7. Well, I guess I don't. There's no sense of getting into the torture math of the next decimal places. So I guess nominally they're tied with Cedar Rapids, but whatever. Fargo has got the best in the league, though, of course, at 90.9. But, I mean, this level of consistency at special teams, I mean, it's valuable. It's very valuable for teams to win the special teams matchups. There's so much of hockey games that get decided in situations outside of 5v5, so that definitely bodes well for them. But yeah, that covers it for the Dev block this week.
Yeah, so far NHL, I don't think we've seen anything too surprising so far this year.
Stanley does have his career high in goals, though.
Yes, and I do need to point out that I spent an inordinate amount of time as he was fighting Michael McCarron last night, explaining how both of these guys are not particularly good, and somehow Montreal dumped McCarron for nothing and still lost the trade because he's better than what they got back. I mean, I guess the only thing that's probably moderately surprising is in terms of just points percentage and really, watching the games, how poor of a start to the year Tampa Bay has had. I mean, the team, sometimes, early in the year you look at a team and their wins and losses and you know that things just aren't breaking their way and they're going to, straighten things up pretty quickly. We haven't seen a lot of teams with that this year, I think. Everybody's kind of performing as to be expected except Tampa, their defense doesn't look sharp. Kucherov's Kucherov. He looks very good sometimes, and He's definitely disproportionately paid for his mistakes this season compared to years past, and that's probably going to fix itself in the once the scatter plot of correlation causation comes in, like averages out as the year goes on. But like even that notwithstanding, Tampa Bay has not looked particularly good really at any point this season.
Hmm. I gotta say, I'm not very impressed by Edmonton's early season form. Like that's something that stood out to me.
I mean, I think for me, I'm not as surprised, but that's also because I am, a
Yeah,
professional hater when it comes to the division.
it it's not like that. Like this is a lot of the things that we're seeing from them as a group are kind of standard for how the early years goes. Like especially like the Connor McDavid finishing element. Like that's something that comes with time. But it's like it's just been annoying to watch because I strongly dislike them, but I do watch them with the expectation that I'm at least going to be entertained, and that hasn't happened. And I'm just like, how much longer do I have to deal with this? Like, especially in the rare instance that I did root for them against New Jersey, because there's not a single team that they can play against that I'll actually root for them to win, and they just fucking got fucking shit on. A lot of fucking impressive, admittedly, uh, shorthanded goal to our boy Connor Brown, and I was just like, oh my god, you guys are a fucking just. You're an insult to the sport right now. I gotta be real.
On the topic of Edmonton, I love seeing revisionist history brain rot on social media, specifically as it pertains to the validity of Chris Knobloch as a good NHL head coach. I'm really starting to see the he ain't shit. He just has McDavid and Draisaitl, which is absolutely insane if you haven't watched hockey for the 10 years or so. And I'm adding I think a year there, but the 10 years or so that McDavid was in this league before he had Knobloch behind the bench, like tells you how many people just started watching hockey the last couple of years if we're calling Knobloch a fraud already.
Yeah. The biggest attribute he has is his communication skills and like his ability to connect with you know the overall character of the rum, you could say. Like, and it's that's something that is going to probably be what resolves a lot of their issues. But like, you know, I do look at their status quo of their roster, and I think about the fact that one thing, like obviously the most extreme outlier in the form of Corey Perry is now employed by Los Angeles, but I think that it is not going to help them in the long term that, they're still in a situation where the depth part of their roster is like, littered with guys who are either just like, in scrub territory or just like on the verge of being eligible for AARP benefits. Like, it's I kind of I know everybody's like, oh, it's the most obvious three-peat matchup ever. Like, uh, I I do think that the West is like it has been neutered a bit. Like, I think it's I agree with our boy Justin Giampetro that I think it is arguable that even with injuries that Florida has a better forward group than the Dallas Stars do. But you're also looking at a Colorado team that looks substantially better, that's made like, you know, proclamations about what they're capable of multiple times already this year. Uh, like you even just look even at their most recent game against the Bruins as a microcosm. Like I commended Jeremy Swayman for having the sort of game that they paid him for once. It's just, as a cohort, his, teammates got shit on, so like it didn't help them in the wins and losses column ultimately. And it's just like, and then of course, opening, their in the opening proceedings of this year against the Kings, they were dominant. And the Kings are a team that's taken steps forward as well. So it's like, I think we're finally looking at the point where the Avs are really just going to be like, a team that gets it done again, and emerges forward as the Western superpower.
I mean, there's only one team that right now I think is going to be a problem for them, and it's Vegas. I mean, that Vegas forward group is. I'm very sad how many times I'm going to see that ruin my night in the next couple months. I mean, Jack Eichel putting up fucking 15 points in 6 games is some bullshit. I don't know if they're better than Colorado, but that through the small sample size of Cassidy's tactics and what that roster looks like it's going to be able to do if they're healthy for once.
Yeah, I do think they've had a bit of a cupcake schedule
Yeah.
to this point. I'd like to see what they can do against more high-end competition, because I mean, especially like when looking back on that San Jose game, and then of course they play the Bruins tight, they lose a competitive game against the Kings. Like, they're obviously very good. They're not fraudulent at all, but like, I just want to see a little bit more from them where they make the sort of pronouncements as a group that they should be making. Of course, it is good that they were able to trounce Calgary last night in a game that I just like, I looked at, I was like sidetracked. I was like, should I check in on this game or not? And then I just saw it was playing out exactly the way that it should. And I was like, yeah, no, I think I will not include this in the viewership docket tonight as I have nothing to gain from it. But like, obviously, like, I would argue, that they're very obviously a top 2 team in their division. But who will they emerge forward as the top of the pack in their conference? So we can't make a definitive determination on it yet.
Yeah. Sounds like a possible good point to pivot into a big finish this week.
Yeah, I'll let you go first because I want to just like prep the nuances of my somewhat complicated big finish first before I go.
Sounds good. This week I'm actually taking it down to the AHL, which seems a little strange, but after our somewhat adjacent New Hampshire born and developed former UNH captain signed with the Colorado Avalanche this offseason, I really wanted to just keep tabs on his AHL debut and really his first week in the league. And I'll say this, our boy AG has definitely not disappointed in terms of giving me something to talk about, Even though his second game was a little bit forgettable, his first game, he got thrown out for absolutely mucking a dude with a cross check. So, like, it's not what you want to see, but if you get thrown out of your first professional game for a egregious cross check, but you don't get suspended, to feather in the cap for the New Hampshire boy. And, props to him also, putting up his first career assist against Coachella Valley the other night. He's got his first ejection, his first 4 minor penalties, and his first assist so far in his first week in the league. He is in action right now for anybody that actually uses Flow Hockey at the Ontario Reign right now, trailing 3-2 in that one. But he's had a really fun, real exciting start to his professional career, and he's doing good to bring entertainment value to the Colorado Eagles system.
I'm basically ready to go. Um, so this is a bit of I think that there are things about this topic that are easily addressed. I actually strongly dislike when some people refer to this as a nuanced or complicated topic, but to get my more detailed thoughts on that and like more strictly political elements, etc. You would have to message me privately, as we have basically an informal policy that anything that could be perceived as partisan politics are not something that we discuss on this podcast or on any other aspects of our media across any of our platforms. So this is something that I have to address from a standpoint of strictly objective analysis of international law, which I am not a law student, but I am studying political science, and I have done extensive research on and have created projects that examine the functions of the international courts, et cetera, et cetera. So this is I guess this is prompted by a multitude of events. Really, we would have done this sooner, but when this first became a topic, really, in the context of the IIHF specifically, we were very much in our infancy as a brand, and it was not really the right time for us as someone as an entity that was just starting to get our just starting to grow our wings. It just was not really we weren't really in a position where we could do that. But now, in response to a number of different events, namely the fact, so firstly, as is well documented, FIFA refused to reprimand or take any action against the Israeli Football Association. As a result, the members of Israel's qualification group for the FIFA World Cup took it upon themselves to ensure that they were eliminated from competition. But also, we are getting closer to the Winter Olympics, in which, of course, Russia is banned from participating. And of course, as has been well known, the IIHF has refused as well to sanction Israel's Hockey Federation. There was a point where they were suspended, but it was only as a safety protocol. With, of course, the NHL responded in relief that this was not disciplinary action. But I'm going to take apart why there is a case, why just for the sake of consistent and uniform application of discipline, for the sake of deplatforming what the international community recognizes as despotic states, from having a platform in international sports. So it is virtually unanimously recognized by the international community that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was a violation of international law, primarily by way of violating the UN Charter, specifically Article 2.4, which prohibits the use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, as well as the breach of international agreements such as the 1994 Budapest Memorandum and the 1975 Helsinki Final Act, and repeated binding resolution violations by the UN General Assembly that Russia has committed.
Now, if the standard put forward by the IIHF is that violation of international law is the reason why Russia deserves to be deplatformed, and that applies also to the IOC, of course, who have made similar judgments. Then, okay, if that's the rationale, then perhaps there is, an argument to be had. I get, the position that, that athletes bearing the brunt of a war that they, did not start and did not participate in is, it's wrong. Maybe you should have them, participate against a unified team. But if you're taking an action against, an entity or an organization, then you at least have an argument that can be made. But by the same logic, the Israeli Ice Hockey Federation should be facing the same punishment from the IIHF because we are at a point now where, the UN General Assembly has rebuked them for, and acts of genocide and violations of international law as well. It has been argued that, settlements in the West Bank have been created in violation of the of international law as well, namely the Fourth Geneva Convention, and of course, let's see, the ICJ has ruled that occupation of Palestinian territories is illegal. While there is also considerable progress being made on the case that South Africa presented against Israel and the ICJ, accusing them of genocide, which has resulted in the ICJ passing binding resolutions of their own, which Israel has correspondingly ignored multiple times as well. And the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for both Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, in placing them in similar standing in terms of the environment of international law, for lack of a better term, as Vladimir Putin. So, considering all of these facts, just as an objective analysis, which I could cite considerably more than just this, considering that Israel and Russia are in the same standing in the international community and in the international court systems, there really isn't an argument that the IIHF can cogently present to not suspend Israel from international competition as well. So really, if there is any sort of logical consistency in these international sporting bodies, then that if you either had to rebuke one or neither, there cannot be any sort of favoritism here, and it's been frustrating for the past nearly 2 years that has been the case, and I really hope that the status quo does not continue for much longer in that respect. Yeah, that was something. That's something I had been considering presenting for a couple of weeks now. It's tough that on this standard, very uplifting product that that it just felt like a responsible use of platform to take things in that direction. But I hope that this was educational, informative. It's unfortunately one of those topics that is inflammatory by its very nature. It's something that it's difficult to even bring up without someone for whatever reason that they may have, have something to say about it, or have some sort of emotion that they feel. But, I hope overall that this episode provided, the same sort of insight and entertainment that it typically does. It was good to get back in action this week after this reprieve that we had for a couple of weeks. And I hope that from a sporting perspective that we have more storylines to cover that, provide that same level of enrichment for our audience. The writing aspect is starting to come back a bit as well. And I hope that's satisfying people. There should be more of that in the near future. More articles, to provide entertainment to our audience with. And I'm glad that, we're receiving a respectable amount of traffic still, even as the output is slowed. So we appreciate your support there to that point. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you to everyone who's continuing to check us out on Spotify and YouTube. We should be back next week. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Enjoy the slate of games that is ongoing and coming up. Signing off.